Hi there. Welcome to Discussions with the Fashion Masters. My name is Deanna Hansen. I'm a certified athletic therapist and the founder of Fluid Isometrics and Block Therapy. And I am being joined by my nephew and my partner on this journey, Quinn Castellane, and our very special guest, Florencia Cerruti. I hope I pronounced that properly. It's such a beautiful name. I was introduced to Florencia about, a number of months ago through one of our community members. And I'm going to let Florencia tell the story. So dive in and share your amazing story with us.
Thank you, Diana and Queen. I'm so happy to be here. I am Florencia. I have lived in Montevideo, Uruguay, since the day I was born. I'm now 55 years old. I have been married to Gustavo, my source of balance, since 30 years ago. I have two daughters. And I am an optimist and warrior and a dreamer by nature. I have a bachelor and a master of science in nutrition, and I was at the peak of my career when I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. So I had no choice to reinvent myself as the only way to go on. I don't want to go on without thanking Gary Sharpie, because it's through him that I have the opportunity to be here chatting with you and telling my story and my incredible experiences regarding block therapy. Gary has been one of the good things that Parkinson's brought me, with no doubts. So when I was living what I thought it was a perfect life, and I thought that I had everything under my control when I got my diagnosis. And I hadn't the slightest idea of how on earth I could go on with that diagnosis at that moment of my life. So I took some decisions, and I think that it's correct to say decisions, because I gave them a lot of thinking, and I decided that I was not going to give up, that I was going to research, to take all the opportunities, to see always the half full glass, and to move forward on my life. I discovered that there is always a half full glass where to stand if you set your mind to see it. First year, it was very tough, very, very tough. And after surviving, I say that I was in survival mode during the first year. I began to write just as journaling, just to register my experiences, my thoughts, my reflections, to commit with my decisions. But they were just pages that I wrote for myself. And I spent 5 years writing without daring to tell anybody. I talked to 5 or 10 people at the most about what was happening to me. And I spent 5 years writing in silence about my process and my feelings until I began to share what I have been writing. And people started telling me, Florencia, you have to share what you wrote because it could be a way of helping others. So, after not having spoken to anybody, almost anybody, about what was happening to me, I decided to publish my private, intimate thoughts to who would like to read them. So I decided to publish, and it implied to go to the TV and to speak publicly and openly. And it was such a surprise to see that I could speak, that I could spoke openly in front of a camera about what was happening to me. And I felt relief of doing so because I became aware of the heavy backpack that I was carrying, that was the weight of the taboo. So there was a way of surprises, learnings, discovering a sense of what was happening to me, and it gave me a reason and the what for that I was looking for. Because as I say, asking you the question, why me, doesn't open any door and any pathway. But asking you the question, what for, it's a different situation. And you can live a new life because there's no way to begin a new life if you understand what the disease is representing in your life. So that's how my book, the first book was in Spanish. Diana has the English version, and I say that it's everybody say that it's a special book, and I think that is because it was not a book intended or written to be sold. It was not a book intended to please anybody else than myself. So I wrote my most intimate thoughts. And it's true that it is a book about Parkinson's, but it is a book about life. It is a book about dealing with adversity. It is a book about real life. And people say me, thank you, Florencia, for writing and sharing it, because it has made me think lots of things. People with Parkinson's and people without Parkinson's dealing with adversity or dealing with life-changing situations. And I think that they thank me because the last message that you find in my book is that one of, if Florencia did it, I can do it also. And it is an important message when you are dealing with the shock of adversity. I think that I would have loved that somebody had told me at that moment, life doesn't need to end with your diagnosis. You can begin a new life, but it's up to you to decide with which attitude you will do it.
And I just want to share, when I was reading your book, I thank you so much, because I had a perception of what Parkinson's is, and you changed my viewpoint very much through your story and the things that you start to lose and how you have to adapt. And it was so empowering and inspiring. And I was so grateful to have had the opportunity to read it and meet you, and now work with you in a very different way.
That it's true, and one of the things that I wanted to do with my book is to socialize what is about Parkinson's disease, going through a diagnosis like that. What is like to live in a society that doesn't is afraid of talking about it. People were afraid of talking to me, and they didn't tell me that they knew about my disease until I published my book. In my presentation of the book, there were 300 people. And I did all kind of movements to invite the people, to tell them I have Parkinson's and I wrote a book. And then I realized that 99% of the people that I invited knew about my disease, but they didn't dare to tell me that they knew. And when I asked them why didn't they tell me anything, the answer was out of respect. But they left me alone. And I dedicate a full chapter of my book to explain to the others, to explain others, what do a person who is going through an acceptance process need from the others. And this is a chapter that very many people thank me a lot and appreciate, because first, it is very difficult to find those kind of advice coming from the insider. They are normally written by others, but there is so much to tell others. How can they help you? And one of my purposes was to deliver that information so as not to make more difficult what is already very difficult.
Oh, wow. I feel your strength. You know, it's incredible what you are living through, and the courage that you have to teach people that, because it is an interesting dynamic when you know that somebody has something, and as the other person, you don't really know how to address or respond. You think you're doing it for the right reason, but then in turn you end up isolating the other person, or whatever the feeling it is that comes forward. So to be able to educate us and teach us how to deal with people with whatever the issues are, that is massive, because I do think most of us probably come at it from a feeling of out of respect for you, but it's not that. It's because we feel uncomfortable with how to communicate with you. So for you to be able to tell us what you need, you've just opened an absolute door to make it really simple for that dialogue to be opened. And that is so needed today. Thank you so much for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is something that happens with Parkinson's, but something that happens with lots of disease. For instance, a woman that was going through an immune depressed situation, she told me the same. Or a coworker told me, I will tell you something. I went through two medical leaves this year. One because I fall off the horse and I broke my spine. And the other one was because I was going through a depression. When I was on the medical leave because of the horse, I received hundreds of calls. But when I was going through the depression, nobody called me.
Hmm.
Why is that? Because I think that is because people don't are afraid of making mistakes and and to not find the correct words and to bother you and to get and that you could get annoyed with their comments. And if if they are afraid, they think that it's better not to say nothing, so they wouldn't make mistakes. And there are very simple things that you can do. Very simple things that it's very difficult that the other person could get disturbed by your action. I say, for instance, that in those years, nobody used a simple action, that is, send her a WhatsApp message and say, I know what you're going through. I'm here for you. Be strong. I'm here for whenever you need me. It's not invasive. You make the thing clear, because you can. I for instance, I went to a meeting and I wouldn't accept a cup of coffee because I didn't know if they knew, and if I need to explain them because I couldn't open the sugar sachet. But if I had known that they knew, it would have been so simple to say, please, can you help me to open the sugar sachet? But if I didn't know, it is very difficult to guess if they know and to anticipate their reactions, because I couldn't say in a meeting, oh, can you help me? I have Parkinson's disease. I can't open the sugar sachet. Because some people started to cry. Some people started to tell me, it is impossible that you have Parkinson's disease, see another doctor. Or other people started saying, think of a miracle. And I thought, who I am to deserve a miracle? So there are no neutral reactions. It's not like saying, I have hypertension, I need to eat food without salt. It's not the same. But it can be simpler, more simple, with simple actions.
Yeah, we're all such flawed communicators, aren't we? Again, it really comes down to teaching. And I mean, I can see so many times in my past when I didn't approach somebody from the place that they needed me to approach them from. And perhaps it's because of my fear of, I mean, there's so many things that you can wrap your head around, right? And again, to just have the instruction from the person, like, what do you need? Tell me how I can communicate, how I can help you. And just having that openness and being there for that person. And yeah, this whole world, I think we can all use a dose of communication skills from a whole bunch of different perspectives so that we can get on a similar frequency with each other, and we can be there and support each other instead of thinking that we're doing what's right, but we're really harming, or not intentionally most of the time. And I think that you made that clear. It's not an intentional thing.
Of course.
It's an
And
ignorance, right? Because we haven't lived in that space. So we don't know what to do. And we're trying not to create more distress or more anything negative, but in our avoidance, and I'm good at avoiding, let me share. So in avoidance, I think we isolate, and then we make you feel not heard or not seen, because I mean, it's your reality. So who am I to not say, hey, but again, to have that education, I think how many languages has this been written in?
two.
Oh, two. Okay. Well, there's a lot of people that speak Spanish and English, so I'm sure you've reached many. And not only was it insightful, it was also just a great story. As I was reading it, I was engaged, and I couldn't put the book down. I just wanted to read more and find out more about your process and what was going on with you. So yes, I highly recommend it for everybody. It's a fabulous, fabulous story and education for us all.
Thank you, Dana. It is not. It is about Parkinson's, but it's not written in the way of a drama. People, readers tell me that they always cry, but they always laugh. And nowadays, knowing that, imagine my surprise. I always say that if somebody had told me 8 years ago, when I was in that dark years, that something of what happened after publishing my book was going to happen, I would have tell them, you are crazy, because I can't believe that what you are telling me. Now that people in Vietnam, in India, in Australia are reading my book, my internal and intimate feelings, and they write to me and tell me, thank you, Florencia. And I was surprised that people in Australia feel the same that I was feeling during those years.
Can we talk about how you addressed your condition along the way, and then when you were introduced to block therapy, how that impacted you?
I knew I knew nothing about Parkinson's disease. I thought that it was a disease of the very old people, and that caused people to tremble. And that is what people normally know about the disease. So when I was 45 years old, I began to feel that I had it was getting difficult for me to brush my teeth, to do this movement. Then I had the same feeling washing my hair, this movement, I couldn't do it. And then when I couldn't write, my writing was impossible to read, I decided to go to the doctor, and then I started to see one doctor and another, because of course the first thought that I was stressed and I was depressed, but nobody thought about Parkinson's. So after the second visit to a second neurologist, I was given the diagnosis. I don't tremble. My main symptom is stiffness, and a lot of symptoms that are related and that are characteristic of Parkinson's disease, like depression, apathy, difficult concentrating, difficult to taking decisions, fatigue, difficult to get sleep. And there are lots of symptoms that people don't know actually about the disease. So my first 3 or 4 years, I was given medication. The treatment is about medication, lots of medication, because every neurologist make a cocktail of different medications to address what do you need. The psychiatrist the same. So I'm taking 90 pills a week.
Wow.
I hate to do this, but I know that it's the way to go on and to not to cure the disease, but to alleviate the symptoms. The other part of the treatment is exercise, lots of exercise and lots of kind of exercise. And my doctor was not did not agree to give me levodopa in that moment, because he told me I have to think with you 30 years in advance. So he delayed the start of levodopa, and I had very tough years before taking levodopa, because my stiffness was very intense. I couldn't dress myself. I couldn't cut my foot. I had my daughters cutting my foot. So you can imagine, after being so superwoman, the superwoman that I was, super mom, super wife, superwoman, super worker, I was super everything. I had to drown in humility, no, humbleness,
Yeah.
and not only a bath of humbleness, I had to drown in humbleness. The same as in the work of office. So then I started levodopa, and I get full of energy again. The stiffness was not a problem until I started with dystonias. That was 1 year ago. It is known that levodopa gives you a honeymoon of 3 or 4 years before other symptoms came, as a consequence of the levodopa itself. So when I started with the dystonia, I found that it was the most difficult symptom to address. It is very painful. When it begins in my left foot, and it goes up depending on the situation, and in 2 occasions it even affected my face. And when I am on dystonia, I can't walk. I can't put my foot on the floor and walk. So I go upstairs and downstairs sitting, and my husband say, let me help you. And I say to him, I don't have problems. I can do it. It is my home. I can go up and down sitting on the stairs. But it's not every, it's not a thing that I can do at every place. And sometimes it becomes very, very painful and very long and very desperate to find a relief. At that moment, I was talking with Gary Sharpie. we became good friends, and we chat, and we are constantly in touch. I had comment him that I went through the full protocol of Rolfing because I was thinking about fascia, and I found out that he was writing about fascia at the same time when nobody else, I don't know anyone else on the community of Parkinson's talking about fascia and speaking about fascia as a central part of the treatment. So we were very surprised because of our similarity of approaches to the disease. And when after finishing my Rolfing sessions, and I was going through the dystonia episodes, he told me, you should try blog therapy. I want to introduce you to Diana Hansen. And the blogs arrived to Uruguay with the for the surprise of the customs officers that I'm sure they they haven't ever seen that blogs, and they were so packed as jewelry that they asked me, but what are they for? I ended talking to the customer officer and recommended her to blog therapy for her. So when after that, I have before that, I was reading Gary Sharpe articles, that I agree with him that I needed to improve my breathing, because improper breathing has very similar consequences to the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. So, and it is very difficult to know what is cause and what is consequence, and what is a consequence of a medication interacting with another medication in those millions of pills that you take, that you have to take them in some hours, and it's a very complicated, complex schedule. So I have been reading about proper breathing. I have bought devices to improve my breathing. I have made exercises to improve my breathing, but I continue to have short breathings, like spasmodic breathings, especially short exhalations. And when I began to blog, the first thing that I noticed is that I would say that in a week, I had improved my breathing. I had measured my cycles, and they were at the beginning at 17 cycles per minute, and in a week, they have dropped to 11 cycles per minute. And I didn't feel anymore that spasms that I felt. And another thing that happened is that as soon as I began blocking, I began to eliminate a lot of phlegms, but a lot of phlegms. I think that I never reached that some part of my lungs, and they were stuck there. And of course, improving my breathing came along with a lot of other benefits for my health. So I was really surprised because of the the velocity, the speed of the changes. When well, another thing that I realized is that my body temperature regulation improved. And when my daughters left home and as my husband snores, we decided to split and to sleep in separate bedrooms. And one day my husband came to my bedroom and said, "I can't believe it. I suffered for 30 years with you, with all your blankets and mattresses, and now you sleep with just a thin blanket. How is this possible?" Another thing that happened to me, well, I had an eye that was very deviated, and I see that is getting in line. I haven't gave it priority in my blocking, but I'm sure that it will get aligned. And well, when I began the 21-day full start, full body, full posture reset, I was absolutely surprised. Because one thing that I didn't mention is that when you have a neurodegenerative disease, the only thing you are expecting is to get worse. And when something goes in the other direction, it's so stimulating. And I say always, perhaps 5% more improvement in your mood, in your apathy, can lead you to be more active, to do more exercise. And the circle goes in another way. Because it's like everybody in the community is waiting for others to get worse. So getting to know that something could get better, it's so inspiring and important. So thank you very much for that. And the changes were so incredible. And at the minute, I rush after every session to the mirror to say, "Oh, I have collarbones. Oh, I have shoulders. Oh, I see my diaphragm moving." It's like I had a rock wall on my instead of my skin, and everything was trapped under that rock wall. And another thing that it's curious, from some years to this time, I had noticed that my belly didn't get done with homogeneously. So I remain black as milk on the front, and on the sides I get tanned. And I comment it to Gary, and he told me, interesting, because melanin and dopamine share the same precursors, share pathways, share they are made at the same place. And these last days, I went to the beach walking with a top to see what was happening with that issue. And I discovered that I not longer get my front of my belly white. And I think that this is saying much information that one can imagine, because something it's been or some block, something that was blocked is it's going on their correct way. And I would like to know what will happen, what else, what other changes may be coming.
Well, I can't wait to hear. I share that in my younger years, I never tanned. I would always fry and peel, go back to white, fry and peel. And in the last number of years, I love being in the sun. I actually do get a nice deep tan. And so my skin has changed immensely over the years from this practice as well. I am so incredibly excited because we are just at the beginning of what changes are coming for you. And to have you trust this process and put the time and energy in and share with people what's happening, so incredibly inspirational. And you brought me to tears because I'm so pleased that this is an offering to give people hope and a path forward to move you from a place that you thought there was no other way except descending. And now you can move forward, and each step of the way you can share with us the changes that you're experiencing and give hope to more people. I'm just so grateful to have met you.
Another thing that I wanted to share is that my dystonia episodes have diminished in intensity and in frequency. And every time that I block and I find a place of such pain, I think that it is an opportunity to heal. So for me, pain is equal to hope, because I think that if I can't find pain, and I did find lots of pain on my left side. And one day I was blocking in my bedroom, and my husband came in, and I was with a terrible expression of pain. And my husband said to me, "What is happening?" "Oh, I'm in such pain. What can I do for you? Can I give you a massage on your feet?" No, but I was smiling. But I don't understand. Why are you smiling if you are suffering so much? Because it means that I have an opportunity to heal my dystonias. Because I had I discovered that there was absolutely a relationship between blocking and dystonia. Sometimes they were exacerbated. Sometimes they were different. But sometimes I was dystonia free for 3 or 4 days. Imagine that I have been dystonia. I have been suffering from dystonia every day for almost a year.
For our listeners, can you explain what that is like for you, having dystonia? What does that mean for people that don't know?
It's painful, terrible, because you can't anticipate when it will come. So one day I couldn't cross the street, for instance, and it's difficult for others to understand that 1 minute you are walking and running, and the other minute you can't cross the street. You have fear of driving or going alone to places. You have fear of planning a trip because you don't know when it will occur. And when it does occur, you can't go on with what you were doing. You can't walk. You can't move. So it became my priority. My husband says now, you are doing great despite you have been diagnosed 8 years ago. You just need to solve your dystonias and you're sleeping. He made that statement, and he's right.
Wow. Quinn, do you have anything to share? I'm just here listening. I'm just kind of blown away.
Likewise. It's just really great to hear your story because there's going to be so many people that can relate to it. And your approach to this is obviously phenomenal. And for you to have written everything down, I think that's like the best thing that you could have done, really, because you're going to be able to share this to the world, to as many people that can get their hands on the book and can listen to this, can listen to you. And you are a warrior. I know you said that earlier, but like, yeah, I just have so much respect for you and for people that are going through this or something similar to what you're going through, because nobody knows if this is ever going to happen to them until it happens to them. And then you just get hit with it. And then you are forced to deal with it. And for you to take the high road and the approach to solve it and not keep getting worse, but finding a solution and sticking with that is very inspiring. And I'm blown away by your story. I need to read your book. I'm going to steal it from Deanna right after. But thank you so much for sharing, because I don't know much about it either. I don't know much about Parkinson's. I don't know much about dystonia other than what you've explained and my own research. But yeah, just keep going, keep going, keep thinking positive, because now that you've kind of gone over that hump of I'm getting worse, now you're starting to reverse that. Now you're bringing in the psychology component as well, and the belief component. Yes, I am getting better, because we talk a lot about that as well, how powerful the mind is. If you keep thinking, I am improving, I'm not going to have, I don't even know the terminology really, but a bout of dystonia today. Just keep telling yourself positive things while you're blocking. When you find those really painful areas, I love how you said that the pain equals hope, because we say pain equals restriction to blood and oxygen flow, but you can really translate that to whatever you want. And for you, it's hope. And I agree. Like even this morning, I'm jumping on the block and I've been having issues with my left psoas. So like deep in the belly. And I'm like, why is there so much pain there today? But and there's times where you just want to get off. You just don't even want to do it. But if you stay with it, you're going to get to that other side of hope. And then you're going to realize, or you understand that it is hopeful, because what's going to be on the other side of that pain? And that's a really interesting concept, because people who are blocking for the first time, they're like, why am I getting in pain when I'm already in pain? But you have to understand it's a different idea and perception of pain, because you're actually ridding the pain out of your body by finding pain in your body. It sounds funny. People don't understand it until they actually do it. So yeah, this is really cool. I think so many people can relate. Even for myself, like I can relate to some things that you have spoken about today, and it's really cool. I'm so happy to see the direction you're going, and I want to hear updates. Like we got to make a really cool story.
Yeah.
There's something that I didn't share. Yeah, and it is that I go to a body therapist once a week. I've been going to her for almost 6 years. And one day, I was in the stretcher, and she was looking at my hands and making the movements that she makes to me at every session. And she told me, Florencia, I don't know what is happening, but now I can do on your right wrist the same movements that I was doing on your left wrist. And that is something that I didn't manage to do in these 6 years. I don't know what is happening. She works with me every week, and we have made improvements, but she didn't understand what was happening to me. So when I went to my neurologist, he performed the test that he made at every appointment, and he was surprised because he told me, this is going better. These old tests that I do are better. Your score in UDPR has dropped from 12 points in the motor scale. What have you done? Because it is unusual to get better, and especially because I have been diminishing my medication, because one of my medication I was sure that was was responsible of my extreme anxiety and sort of compulsion actions. And he was expecting to find me worse, because that medication was the first one that I tried, that I took when I was very stiff. And when I took it, it allowed me to begin writing again. So I'm pretty clear that this medication is in me has a good effect for stiffness. So he was very surprised to find me better. And I'm sure, because this is not something that happens to me every time, because most of the times I don't follow a scientific approach to test what effect has the strategies that I prove. But in this case, I was going through less medication. I was in lockdown, and it was winter, and the club was closed, and I couldn't perform all my activities. I wasn't going to my tango lessons. So there was no other explanation during those times that was an effect of block therapy. And I went also to the hairdresser, and she told me, wow, you are more flexible, because now you can put your head on the position that I can wash your head and you don't are getting wet on the back as always. And last week I went to have a breast scan, and the lady that was there told me, "You're doing much better. I remember you the last time that you were here. You have all kind of struggles getting dressed and undressed and putting your arms on the over the machine and all those difficult positions that you have to make. I don't know what you're doing, but it's doing you very good," she told me. And they are people that my tango teacher, for instance, he told me, your posture is very good, and your skin and your face, you look great, he told me. And they are people that can capture your difference, because they know your body, they know how you move, how you can put your head down in the same place. So this is really inspiring. And I say that going through the 21-day posture reset was a time full of joy and full of new energy to go on, to move forward on this difficult process, because it's difficult.
Wow, I'm so delighted to hear all of these changes that are truly just beginning, and we will make it a point to have you on regularly so we can continue to update everyone with your amazing changes that I have no doubt will continue to go in that forward direction. And we will also share your information with your book, and if we can, even some of your before and after photos, because they're truly remarkable. And
I'm writing a new book, and it will sure include these experiences.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited.
So cool.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Florencia. I can't wait to continue this conversation and to, just move forward with you and share this with everybody that needs to hear it.
Thank you, Diana and Queen, because it's very important what you are doing and the way you are doing it.
And likewise, thank you for educating us on how to communicate more effectively and compassionately with everyone. So have a wonderful day.
That's a big thing I learned today. So thank you so much. Great to speak with you, spend time with you, and we'll keep in touch.
Keep in touch, of course.
Bye, everyone.